It started with laughter. Not the kind that warms a room, but the kind that slices through it. A group of senior officers stood in the cold morning air at Pearl Base, their uniforms crisp, their pride sharper than their medals. Among them stood a woman, younger, quieter, her posture steady as if carved from discipline itself. Before we jump in, I'd love to know, where are you watching from? If this kind of storytelling speaks to you, subscribe for more moments that actually mean something. No one knew who she was. She'd arrived with a sealed envelope, wearing no visible rank, her name tag smudged by rain. The base admiral, a man known for his thunderous humor, looked her up and down, amused by her calmness amid command. "Well, soldier," he said, his tone light and teasing. "What's your rank? Or should I guess private?" The officers around him chuckled. The woman didn't move. Her eyes, ocean steady, met his without a tremor. Her voice came softly. "Fleet commander." For a moment, the laughter died. Then the admiral's smirk faltered. His chest tightened. His hand trembled slightly before he hid it behind his back. The officers around him shifted uneasily, unsure if they'd just witnessed a joke or a reckoning. She didn't explain. She didn't have to, because by the time her full credentials were confirmed, the base would never forget her name, Commander Aria Hale. Youngest fleet commander in SEAL history, Aria's story had begun far from authority. Years earlier, she'd been a simple recruit, a quiet girl from Alaska who could outswim, outshoot, and outthink men twice her size. But she carried herself with humility, refusing to compete for attention. In training, others mocked her silence. Some called her the ghost recruit. They didn't know she was listening, studying, learning every flaw, every blind spot, every whisper of arrogance that weakened the team. During Hell Week, when exhaustion turned strong men into shells of themselves, she carried 3 of her teammates across the beach in a single night. She said nothing about it. She didn't want praise. She wanted unity, but the higher-ups noticed. They saw a soldier whose calm broke storms. Still, Aria never played the politics. She stayed in the shadows, serving, obeying, leading only when asked. Until the ambush in Yemen, her team had been deployed on what was supposed to be a routine extraction mission, but intelligence failed them. An entire fleet of enemy combatants surrounded their convoy. Aria, still a lieutenant, then took control when her commanding officer froze under fire. Bullets shattered the wind. Dust and chaos swallowed the horizon. She crawled through the sand, coordinating drone support with a handheld device half broken by the blast. Her voice over the comms was steady. "Alpha team, move north. Bravo, hold fire until my mark. I'll draw their sight line." She exposed herself to enemy fire to redirect the attack. Her tactics confused the ambushers long enough for evacuation. Helicopters to land. 23 soldiers lived that day because of her split-second leadership. She didn't claim credit. She wrote in her report that it was a collective effort. But the Navy had eyes everywhere. Her name began circulating in rooms filled with stars and stripes. By the time she reached commander rank, she'd already refused 2 promotions. She said the same words each time. Rank should reflect readiness, not recognition. It was only when Admiral Pierce, the same man who would one day mock her, signed her final recommendation letter that she accepted the title Fleet Commander. But something changed. Her silence made others uneasy. Whispers spread. She's too young, too quiet, too perfect. Men who'd never seen her in battle questioned her authority behind her back. And Pierce, Admiral she once respected, became one of her harshest skeptics. He never believed someone half his age could lead an entire fleet. So when she arrived, unannounced at Pearl Base for an inspection that morning, he assumed she was a logistics officer or a messenger. He laughed because he thought he was untouchable. But fate doesn't care about ego. As the laughter faded, Aria handed him a sealed order stamped with the fleet insignia. Pierce opened it with shaking fingers. His eyes widened as the words unfolded before him. Fleet Commander Arya Hale is hereby assigned authority to oversee full operational review of Pearl Base and all subordinate command structures. She outranked him by law, by performance, by trust. The man who'd mocked her now stood at attention. Speechless. The officers who'd laughed avoided her gaze. And yet, she didn't gloat. She simply said, "Respect isn't demanded, Admiral. It's earned. I'll need your cooperation." Her tone carried no venom, no pride, only quiet truth. Pierce nodded slowly. Something broke inside him, not in anger, but in humility. Over the following weeks, Arya worked beside the same men who once doubted her. She didn't issue threats or reminders of rank. She listened. She learned their weaknesses and strengths. She joined them in drills, sweat dripping under the same sun. No special treatment, no shortcuts. One evening, after a long exercise, she found Pierce standing alone by the docks. He looked older than before. "Commander," he said softly, "I used to think leadership was about how loud you could shout. Turns out, it's about how quietly you can lead." She smiled faintly. "You taught me that once, when you signed my recommendation letter. You just forgot." Pierce exhaled, the weight of regret leaving his shoulders. "I was blind," he admitted. "Maybe," she said, "but even the blind can learn to listen." Weeks turned to months. The base transformed under her leadership. Morale rose. Discipline sharpened. Respect became a currency earned, not imposed. During a final review ceremony, Pierce stood before the fleet and addressed his men. "There are moments in service," he said, "when rank must bow to integrity. I mocked a woman I didn't understand. But she taught me that strength isn't in voice or muscle, it's in vision." He turned toward Arya, saluting her. The entire base followed. It wasn't about authority anymore, it was about respect. Arya returned the salute. "We're only as strong," she said, "as the dignity we show one another." And as the sun dipped behind the horizon, reflecting off the calm waters, even the wind seemed to stand still. As if saluting her 2 years later, her story became a lesson whispered to every new recruit, that humility can outlast arrogance, and quiet courage can silence entire rooms. They said she never raised her voice once in command, but her words were remembered long after her. Footsteps faded from the base, because leadership isn't a medal you wear on your chest. It's to trust you, build in silence, and the respect you earn when no one's watching. What did this story make you feel? Subscribe to Soul Relief Stories for more real stories that heal the heart.